conference will now be recorded.
10:01. This meeting is called to order at 10:01. Okay, let's see here. So roll call.
Shane? Here. Denise Reed? Absent. Pauline York? Absent. Leilani Powell? Here. Laura Ball? Here. Bruce Christie?
Here.
And Simi Rajan? Absent.
Okay, so we're gonna go to public comment. Anybody have a public
They're
comment?
very quiet today.
I know.
They are. And looking good, too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would just like to have one public comment. Actually, Cove Connect is doing a Pints for Nonprofit at JIPO next Friday. And
Who is?
Cove Connect. We're doing a Pints for Nonprofit at JIPO,
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with Coconut.
aka the Pioneers.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought it was, oh,
Yeah.
I thought you said coconut.
Oh.
You're like, who are the coconuts? We're the coconut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it fits, but.
Yeah. And Anna Regina's new band is gonna play, so it'll be really fun,
Okay.
rockin' 60s music. So we hope you all come out. So. All right.
This weekend is another fundraiser.
Yeah, that's on Saturday. Yeah, it's a Skyfish fundraiser. We're having tacos and Mexican food and a raffle. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess in the same theme, a bunch of people who support local pickleball are getting together at Jippo's on Friday at noon for lunch to celebrate the contract.
All right. Is that, oh, the fire radio in the office has to be off.
Maybe. Hold on.
Are we broadcasting the coffee maker?
Yeah. Okay. So, any more public comment from the board or the committee? No?
No.
All right, cool. So we'll go on to discussion items. The first one being the sports court update, and I'll let Chris take this.
Yeah. So the RID board did pass the construction contract to build the sports court. So next week I will be meeting with the contractor, Ben McMahon, and Mike Bruno, the assistant or the consultant engineer who developed the plans. We'll be going over our process, how we'll get started, timeline. That'll be the first ball rolling basically on the whole project on the construction side of it. So I'll have more to report next time, but yeah, so far that's the update. That we'll be meeting next week to begin the process for the construction.
Any questions on the committee?
No. There's no news other than that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one question. So because we're definitely just doing the one court, are you going to be discussing with them about how much of the area is actually going to be graded and
Yeah.
that kind of thing? That scope of work. Okay.
So you have some thoughts on that topic already?
No. I'm
Okay.
gonna look at
Go with what they
we're gonna
say.
Sit there at the
Okay.
table, look at the plans, look at the bid document, and
It's not obvious to me, whether it makes sense to do any grading on the other area or not.
yeah. I know that was like bid
Well-
separately, basically. So
Right, exactly. There, the area where we're going to put the agreed upon court, the single basketball court.
Right.
And then there's another area adjacent to it, which you build an additional pickleball court on. And the question was raised, I think, in the RID meeting about, well, shouldn't we just grade that whole thing at one time? And it's not obvious to me that there's a simple answer to that.
yeah, I guess that's why we're gonna have this meeting and talk about that. Also,
Yeah.
I want to make sure we talk about the horseshoe bits too, to make
Right.
sure they're included in the whole thinking. So that
For example, I mean, with just the one court, we could move them 15 feet. If we're going to put in the two courts, we'd have to move them 50 feet,
yeah.
Yeah.
that was why I had asked what we were doing, which was the one court. And I think it would be a good idea. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you come back with. I think the feedback I've gotten from the people who play horseshoes a lot regularly, is they would like to be as far away from the road as possible. That was one of their concerns, was like if we were doing the two courts, it was pushing them closer to the road. And so just getting that clarified would be helpful for people.
Yeah, that makes like a 40-foot difference or something.
Yeah. It's enough to make a difference. Thank you.
I'll be able to provide like probably just be a placeholder in the RID meetings, the RID board meetings, provide a discussion update on sports court as we go. I don't anticipate any actual construction until rainy season's over, and we haven't had much rain in the very recent past. There'll be more. There'll be more. Yeah, so we probably won't see any construction probably May. I'm not sure. Who knows?
They're also going to be scoping out places to direct people for overflow parking once that's built.
Will I be scoping out places? I mean,
You know, like an area for new overflow, because it just used to be right behind the parking lot, you know, where people are gonna.
imagine it's going to be in the same place, just with that, not in that.
There's about 6 acres left over, so that should be plenty.
The same lot, all the way from the existing parking lot to the access road, the airport. Just have to scoot it back, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, so we'll just park behind the
Yeah.
sports court.
And that's one thing that I thought we should consider while we're doing that. There's part of the plan has to be a walkway that goes on the
Right.
north-south direction along one side of the court. And we ought to consider at the terminus of that walkway, a graceful transition to overflow parking.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that's included in the
Yeah.
discussion.
Right, okay, perfect. All right, is there any discussion, public comment on the sports court? Anybody online?
No.
Okay, so community center update is next.
Yeah, so I do have a little bit of updating on this. So, once again, I guess I apologize for dropping the ball, not getting when I looked at the minutes from the last Parks and Rec Committee meeting, I said, oh, well, there was some actual action items to recommend, action items for the RID board meeting that somehow I dropped the ball, didn't get to them. But got it going now for February. And that would be specifically that engineering budget, to use the existing amount or the remaining amount in that budget for the mold treatment on the building. So right now, after we had to pay the Atlas Engineering for his site visit, there's $3,600 left in that line item. So we can pull that amount, and then we would need about another 3,000 to 4,000 more for the lowest estimate for mold treatment. And we could do that just from general fund reserve. It doesn't quite surpass the threshold. In our district expenditures policy, the board has to approve anything over 5,000 over budget. So this would be under 5,000 over budget. So we can just do it. Actually, I'd probably just do it without going to the board, but I'll bring this to the board anyway, just so they can be aware and kind of weigh in on that decision. So I will bring that to the board in February. And then also, let's see, I wanted to share that I did find a grant funding source for the community center building. It's called the Community Resilience Centers Program from the California State Prop 4 funds. And they will be issuing a notice of funding availability this spring and summer. So I'm already clued into it. We'll be applying for it. They're divided into planning grants or implementation grants. And I think at this point, we can just go straight to implementation. We've done a lot of planning on the building already. We know what it needs. It can incorporate even the microgrid potential that we had Cal Poly Humboldt study for us, EV chargers for the parking lot potential. So we can incorporate a lot of new things into the building.
This is a new program?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's round 2 funding. So this,
Okay.
I guess there has already been a round funding that I didn't see, but now I saw round 2. There's 55 million available, they're saying, and it's priority for disadvantaged communities, rural unincorporated communities. So we fit all of that. And the planning side, there's their grants are 100,000 to 500,000, and the implementation grants are 1 million to 10 million. So if there's only 55 million available, they're not going to be that many grants that they give away, but they can also do partial grants, they said, and under those amounts. But I think we're going to be very competitive, considering we have done a lot of homework on this building already. So I think we're shovel ready on this building for this grant.
And did we get the plans back from Atlas? The ones that.
No, we didn't. The board at the last meeting decided not to pay for the plans until next
Okay.
fiscal year, which is only in June.
Right.
We just paid for the site visit. That way we
Gotcha.
have this remaining budget
Gotcha.
for the mold treatment.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, actually, a community member just came up to me the other day and has interest in maybe renting out a room downstairs for medical services.
Oh.
If we were to redo that, having an RN there, having a doctor come out every 2 weeks, check the book, take appointments. I know it's something that the community really needs. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And this person would have their RN degree by then. So.
Renting a room downstairs.
Yeah, to see patients.
Okay.
So it's an idea. It's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember decades ago they used to do that here in this building.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's really exciting. We can do a lot with that community center, especially with that downstairs that's not being utilized.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Once it's
Yeah.
remodeled
Mhm.
properly.
Right.
And I think it was January 13th, they had the first Stone Soup food pantry distribution to the public. Went pretty successful, I heard, and so that's happening.
Yeah.
It's an update.
Mhm.
I have a question about the plans that are kind of in the works with Atlas.
Yeah.
Those plans represent kind of a short-term bite at our community center needs, basically getting unused space, unusable space usable and fixing deferred maintenance problems.
Yeah.
We're not at this point thinking about a whole redesign or a rebuild or that kind of thing at this point.
Well, the plans were basically a remodel. Hadn't seen them. I saw a preview of them, but for instance, in the plans, it looked like they had added a wall between the kitchen and the main room and the upstairs. They took out the other kind of diagonal wall in the entryway. They looked like they enclosed the lower area in front of the library and the first 5 room. It looked like they enclosed that.
But we're not like trying to increase square footage or, bringing in balconies into enclosed space or any of that kind of stuff at this stage.
I didn't see that yet, but one thing I'm not clear about on the plans too is basically the input, what they did was that, remember the site visit, you weren't there, Bruce, but the architect engineer came on one day and Mike Solari was there, Laura and I and Pesha and Pauline, yeah. And we just kind of walked around the building and everyone was kind of throwing out ideas verbally. Nothing was ever put down on paper or email or anything.
But the engineer sucked this up.
And then, he came back with all the plans. I'm like, wait a minute, I feel like we needed to have a little bit more official input before he redesigned the whole building based on that one site visit, but that's what happened.
So we're likely to have minor revisions to that plan.
Yeah. Well, and then the main goal was to kind of see what it would take to get it watertight and ADA compliant.
Right.
Because a lot of things, especially downstairs, have ADA, like they can be very easily just by moving a sink or moving a toilet. Because
Right.
there is that 5 foot
There's that
turning
and
radius.
egress issues and the ventilation issues.
Right, or like
yeah.
that little closet in between the bathrooms, like we took that out, then we have a 5 foot turning radius and put the wall on the other side of the kitchen. So it's just little things like that. Redoing the ramp outside,
Right.
so that had the right pitch, just things like that to make it watertight.
Okay, so we're not talking $1 million
No, we're
grants
talking
here.
like taking out little things like the double doors and
But we're probably talking, what, 100,000, couple 100,000 worth of stuff we'd like to do?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's
Something like that. Yeah, okay, thanks.
However, I would like to add that if we were to be getting a larger grant, if we were able to do that, then it would make sense to go back and look at how we could expand it within that footprint, whether that's encompassing the decks or whatever. I think if we had access to that type of a funding, then this would be the time to look at how we want to design it for that. It was just at the time when we met with the engineer, or the architect, we were more just wanting to see what it would take, you know.
Okay, well then maybe the committee needs to make a serious short-term effort to try to decide if we can come up with a
Yes.
more.
Yes,
Okay.
and so the committee, the community center subcommittee will be looking into that, right? And
Well,
you're on
that's why we made that recommendation to see what it was
Yeah.
just to get it watertight.
Right, right.
So then we can see what we're starting with, like, this is the bare minimum of what we need. And then if we want to go further, then that would be what we would get from Atlas down the line with all those.
But it would come to this, the committee as a whole
Right.
for us to be able to, and that's something that didn't happen with these plans that Atlas just did on
Right.
it without a contract, without.
Right. We were actually weren't ready to go to that.
We weren't
No.
we weren't
Right.
quite ready there. So, and there's already things on there that would probably need to be changed, and we need a contract to make sure that we're not paying for every little change if that's
Right.
not what was
Right, or at
requested,
least
No,
so many
that's
revisions
part of my
included.
thinking, yeah.
which is what happened with the community center.
Yeah, we never had a contract.
Yeah.
Then.
Um,
The other community center update, I haven't really gotten much traction on the idea of removing that large industrial dehumidifier from the biosolids building at the wastewater plant into the community center building. I think we kind of shot down the idea just internally. I think it would look like a lot of electricity usage, it'd be pretty big. It would require some rewiring and some modifications in the building that we're not really sure are warranted yet. So trying to look at other solutions versus moving that huge. It's a really big unit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was going to work right there. And it doesn't really cover the downstairs very well either because all the doors and smaller rooms. It's meant for a bigger room. And we can revisit it. It's still there. It's not going anywhere.
But maybe would it be just to get a couple of the smaller units? I mean, those are still high energy use, but
I bought like a couple of really small units for the downstairs for the library and the children's room. So they did get small air purifiers, but
the other ones.
the other
the
nothing
areas.
else.
So question, if you don't need board approval for that amount, can't we just abate it now and then you just tell the board that it was done and we got the funds to do it and it was under the certain amount? That way we don't have to, we can just abate it and get it done. We don't have to put these things in there until the board knows, I guess, because
Yeah.
they don't really need to approve it at that price point,
Considering it's been a subject of the board
Yeah,
past
for a while.
year, I think it
Yeah.
should be brought back. That's
You
what you're saying.
Yeah. 'cause-
It could either be brought back as a discussion or not. I think it, like what Chris's point is that because it has been being discussed, out of ultimately respect, like,
I think it's
Showing
a
that we
draft
found-
resolution, we should
Yeah.
say, Chris should come to the meeting with,
Yeah.
this is the plan to do it.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
My recommendation would be to do it and I'll spell out how it will be funded. And,
yeah, and it will need to be done again once we get it fixed.
Mhm.
It'll probably need to be done again, but that's just part of the maintenance.
I mean, because of the moisture.
Yes, because of the moisture, and we would be fixing it prior, before it's.
Before it's
fixed.
watertight,
Before
yeah.
it's watertight, so there's gonna be another, at some point, we'll probably need to do it again. Who knows, maybe that could be in with the grant. Once a final deep
Yeah.
mold mitigation cleaning once we get it all.
Well, it might need to
sealed
be
in.
part of our budget recommendation too. If
Yeah.
that subcommittee gets passed, that they allocate those funds again, whatever this abatement was,
Exactly.
adding that again into their budget to make sure that they have that set aside.
Yeah.
And just for clarity too, that grant opportunity, the application process will open this spring, summer, it will close in fall, and the awards will be actually spring 2027 next year. And so we're looking pretty far, a little bit further into the future for this one.
Yeah, so it makes sense to do the mold mitigation now so that, because people are still gonna be using the area.
Yeah, and I would even ask whoever's doing it how often they think it needs to be abated until we get it watertight. So then we can plan for that in our budget too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the plan for making it watertight?
I've only got one quote, it was 2 years ago,
Mhm.
to redo the south wall in the building, because that's where the leaking, when it rains really bad, it comes in around the window there. So it would just be to re-side the exterior. The problem is they've all known, the contractors acknowledge that once they tear open the wall, there could be other problems, and then their quote becomes much larger.
If they do any framing work or anything, yeah.
Yeah, and there's definitely, probably once they tear that south wall off, there's probably mold and rot in some of the structure.
Though you know it,
Also-
you can see that,
You can see it. And then also what needs to be addressed is the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is leaking above either the oven,
and
The
the
hood.
entryway.
hood, and
And the
so,
fire sprinklers too are leaking.
yeah. So there's definitely some issues with the roof. So that would probably include that as well.
Well, and the storage, right? The storage, it rains inside.
Mhm.
There's no flashing on the windows. There's no, and it's right, below the deck.
Right.
So it just all falls.
I would-
And
yeah.
So it's pretty bad in there. So that's gonna need a lot of abating and probably completely redone. All of that's gonna have to be torn out.
So we're looking at probably easily a couple $100,000.
Is there no hillbilly engineering that could be applied in the meantime? Just big cans of spray foam and.
That's what's been happening
Uh-huh.
in the past is just that these, like some mitigation as far as like doing, little sealant but really all that does is trap the moisture in that's already there. It's not.
Well, it stops more getting in.
It does, but it's only for a short amount of time and that's how we've been operating with that particular building for the last.
And
years.
only helpful in gentle rain, not in storms.
Well, what happens when you trap moisture? It creates mold. Right. So.
And
there's
for,
that too.
yeah, and for example, like I know, we had, Dylan was down there with some caulk and trying to, and I was just looking at that, not shortly after, not too long ago, and it's already starting to peel away because that's not what it's meant. It helps on a short term, but I think the biggest problem we've had with the community center is that we've been doing these short-term fixes for so long that it's not addressing the root cause. But getting back to your question, those things are being done. It's
They are
just
being
not,
done, okay.
it's just not enough.
Not effective. Okay.
Well, and then if we're kind of banking on maybe being able to get some grant money, what if that doesn't happen? I mean, we should have an additional plan for, if that doesn't happen, then what's plan B?
That's why we really need a bid to figure out what it's gonna cost, best case and worst case scenario. So then we can plan for it, and probably apply for more than one grant,
Yeah.
get
And I would
multiple
support
grants.
an increase in the annual budget for maintenance of these facilities.
Yeah.
I mean, to suggest that $1,000 a year was enough is
Yeah.
kind of
Lunatic.
comical. Yeah.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
I think that was an oversight. I think budgetary wise, yes, we need to increase the budget, but you also have to look at our budget as a whole and we're operating in the red. And so that is only going to last for so long. And really, if we don't get this particular grant, we're going to have to get grants.
Yep, something's gonna have to happen.
So it's just going to be, I think, an ongoing search for more, even if we get this one grant
Mm-hmm.
for future maintenance and upgrades, we're going to have to be looking for more because we just don't have it in the budget. Even if we have it, even if we approve of the larger budget, doesn't mean we have the money or it's coming from
Right.
somewhere else.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
Or the nonprofits need to do some fundraising. That's possible too.
yeah, there's that outreach, but ultimately it is the district's responsibility.
And it's a pretty decent chunk of change
Yeah.
to actually affect some change there. It's gonna be, one way or another, regardless of what those plans look like, it's gonna be significant.
Yeah.
Right?
Those- The updates in the community center.
Okay. Anybody else have anything in the public comment?
Just real quick, Chris, would you be open, like our last recommendation was for the board to recommend that we get some more quotes on what it might take to get it weatherized, essentially. I know you got that one. Is that okay with you that we make that recommendation again?
Yeah, the complicating factor there is, if we're doing it by the book, is we need prevailing wage, if it's a public works project over
Yeah.
$1,000. I think local contractors, there's only one that was willing to do that quote, but I can reach out again.
Okay. But does the board need to instruct you to do that, or is that something you can do on your own? Or what do you think?
I know that was part of, in the minutes, that was part of the recommendation.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
but
say
I-
that's already
was-
gonna be the action item next meeting. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
but
wanted to
I
make
mean,
sure.
I can do that on my own too.
Yeah, so that's
Either
what I
way.
was just trying to
Yeah.
figure out what the best way to do that.
Okay, online. Okay, so we're gonna move on to action items then. So approve the minutes of November 21st, 2025 at our regular Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. Does anybody have any questions on these minutes? I know
No.
Sammy's not here, but he looked over them and said they look good as well. So,
Yeah, okay with minutes.
yeah, me too.
Sydney?
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. All right, roll call.
Pauline York, absent. Hester Chang.
Aye.
Laura Ball.
Aye.
Simi Rajan, absent. Denise Reed, absent. Leilani Powell.
Aye.
And Bruce Christie.
Aye.
Minutes have passed. Okay, so we're going to move on to recommendation for 4th of July. I know, Chris, you have something for this.
I guess the only thing I have is that Scarf has a plan to do something, they want to do like kind of like a carnival type atmosphere with sack races and booths and all that. And then we're asking the RID in a letter to, store their equipment, the booths and whatnot, but, that's about it. They want to do some kind of thing that, trying to get away from the fireworks, so that's about it.
Okay, great. And I know that our subcommittee does have some things to put on that we would like to recommend to the grid board, but we'll do that. Maybe we can put that for the next meeting for us to go through as a committee.
What was that?
Some of these things here that we have planned for 4th of July. Here we go. The fire safety and emergency preparedness, signage, regulations and visibility, community partners and sponsorship. Some of these things that we want to put on the strategic plan that we have been working on that we're now ready to propose.
Right. But could we go ahead and make a recommendation on? I think it's my understanding that Scarf needed, for the February meeting, that the board, the RID
Mhm.
board, take action on whether or not they were gonna partner
Right.
with Scarf. Could we go ahead and make that recommendation?
Absolutely, and this is our recommendation for the strategic plan. This was
Mhm.
everything that was in the strategic plan, so we completed that. Yeah. So this is the last of probably our subcommittee, so I'm not sure how we go for it. If I have to go for the report for that, or if we just put it on the strategic plan, and it all goes through at once.
For this particular topic for the 4th of July, because, they wanted it on this last meeting, so that they can continue to move forward with their plans. I think it would behoove the committee to make the recommendation that the board, that the RID approves a partnership with Scarf,
Right.
taking leadership.
Mhm.
And then we will include that into our strategic plan, but I think if we make this recommendation now, that the district approves their.
Oh, definitely, that's gonna be on there for sure.
Right.
I was just wondering if we want to put on there, the fire safety and emergency preparedness. We have a couple of ideas on here, the signage, like having, some signage about fire regulations and putting them at different spots that tourists go to, so then they understand. We can even ask local businesses to put signs up about,
Yeah.
fire preparedness and what to do in emergency and things like that.
Yes,
So-
that will be included with this in the strategic plan, but for this particular action,
Right.
I think just go ahead and, in my opinion, I think we should go ahead and recommend that the district take Scarf up on their offer to spearhead this.
Mhm.
And then we can have further discussions on everything that needs to include. And we'll have our, by March, April, we'll have finalized our strategic plan. And then that'll all be included in it as
Right,
well.
okay. I just wasn't sure, because the
Yeah.
timing still be April, May, June, July. There's only
Yeah,
3
I
months,
know
so I
that's-
wasn't sure.
But we can also have those discussions with Scarf about
Yeah.
what we're looking for, and that's, we would like them to help facilitate.
And
the
Cove
plan.
Connect's happy to help too. I put it that we can do a couple of things in there as well, so it's not just all on Scarf, so we can all work together.
Yeah, so did you have, with that said, I know there was a little bit of mix up on who was on the 4th of July subcommittee, but you did meet with Sydney. Could you give us a little bit of like what you guys, and so that's basically what you guys were talking about?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Does that make sense to people?
Mm-hmm. When you mentioned that their scarf is needing storage, what was that storage going to look like? Where does that go?
Yeah, I haven't heard really firsthand yet.
Oh, I was just curious because I know like down at the community center, it'd be pretty damp in that little spot if you're trying, especially if you're
And
trying to
it's
store
packed.
food, damp and hot, and yeah.
In the letter, they specified, the boots.
Okay.
The boots broken down, I guess,
Yeah.
I don't know what the boots are made of or what they look
Right.
like.
So maybe like canopies and tables and chairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There is that spot in the room that we're not using technically. And then there's that little shower and then that back little room that's not being used for anything. I'm wondering if their things would break down and fit into that space. That would be
I
dry,
think we can make room either in there or even in the garage area with the dance garage area. It depends.
but they would just have to help figure out how to keep it dry. Does staff have any recommendations?
I think that if this is something we're agreeing to do, I think it's something that should only be agreed upon for a period of time or a short period of time, because I don't know that, I mean, there really isn't a ton of space. And right now, the pantry is using that space, the yoga person stores all of her stuff down there. And there's some district stuff that could probably move out of there that would make more space, but
It's not very
I
large,
mean,
no.
I don't know. I just,
Well, can we tell the folks at Scarf, we have 100 square feet available?
Well, like I
Or whatever,
mentioned, we're thinking about putting it where CERT stuff and Cove Connect stuff is in that back area. And if we are gonna do that, we do have an entire rack available now after Cheryl and I cleaned it out. So we do have that space available for them.
Need a little shuffling around,
Yeah, we
huh?
might just need to shuffle it around or just take that racking out. If it's like large
Right.
canopies, they could probably stack it along that wall as long as they're in some sort of waterproof, whatever. It's probably fine, or they can even cover it in trash bags, But we have that, and we can just say, because I know this needs to pass, but we can say is just work with Cove Connect on storage space, and then we can work with them based on their needs and try to shuffle things around and make it work. So.
I understand the temporary basis because also if we're talking about remodeling, they're gonna have to find another spot anyway. So
The same as food pantry.
and I also foresee issues with other groups using the space, and I don't want to be liable for any damages. They're gonna have to understand if they store there, it's going to have their own risk.
and so maybe an agreement signed, a waiver with waivers signed.
Yeah, and there is definitely some already stuff to go.
Yeah, and I would like to in the new, community center plans, maybe get a better storage solution for the nonprofits. Instead of just getting rid of it, maybe we can find a better way to store things. So, okay. So recommendation for 4th of July. So is there any public comment? So, anything else from anyone here about allowing Scarf to store their stuff and do the 4th of July?
No.
Okay. All right, who wants to make a motion?
And I'm gonna make a motion,
I'll second. I'm sorry.
but just.
Let you finish the motion.
You don't say what it is.
And Jessica,
Move along.
you can help me refine this maybe or if it makes sense, but I'd like to make a motion that the district allow and partner with Scarf to take the lead on the 4th of July celebration program, and allow some storage, however, with a waiver sign for
In a limited period.
and for a limited period, yes.
Are we thinking? Oh, okay,
Quite a
I'll
long one,
second.
girl.
I'll second now.
Okay, and
Well,
Bruce Christie,
Aye.
Denise Reed, absent. Leilani Powell,
Aye.
Pauline York, absent. Laura Ball,
Aye.
Chester Shane,
Aye.
Amy Rajan, absent.
Okay. Motion is passed for 4th of July celebration by scarf with, I don't even know how to say that. With a signed waiver with a period, a limited period of time.
Of storage
Of
time.
storage. Okay. All right, so recommendation for fee exemption calendar. Chris?
Yeah, I think so the RID board, approved the fee exemption calendar through the end of February. I think staff's recommendation is just to leave it as it is. To approve the fee exemption calendar, so that's all for the nonprofit groups to use the building without fee or reduced fee. And, just historically what we do every year. Recently, the board voted, or reviewed the policy, the rental policy for the community clubhouse and other community centers like this one here. And there was some questions about should the fees be changed, how much should it be changed to and whatnot. Nothing was actually changed. And staff's recommendation is just to leave it as is this year.
Yep, all right. What does everyone think? I have my opinions, but I'll see if anyone else wants to go first.
Personally, I don't have a problem with the schedule as it was, I last saw it when it was last talked about.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give a little bit of a background on it as to why it's coming up is for several years. It's been a question on, trying to bring in more money for the district. And then also that in our budget, which we'll hopefully fix, is that really the cleaning isn't being met, right? Like we don't have the staff or the budget to have somebody there doing the deep clean after every single event. Nonprofits have had $100 deposit on for like years. So at some point, it was from where I've been coming from is that at some point I feel like we should be charging something, whether that's just a cleaning fee at the beginning of the year. However, because we really haven't upgraded the community center, then what are we giving them? Like what are we really providing? And for this year, I agree. I think we should probably just leave it alone. And what I would like to see though is for some of these fee exemptions, like especially like the hangover tournament. It's my understanding that typically the district kind of covered it. Am I accurate in saying that? Or that was what people have been thinking. It's been the district insurance covering that particular event. However, it's also been said that I think maybe last year or a couple of years ago, the Pioneers, now Cove Connect, sponsored the insurance. And it would be nice to have the hangover tournament, at least the insurance part covered by somebody else, because there is alcohol, there is, and they are receiving some kind of funds. I don't know, like, I didn't realize that they were taking money.
They have entry fees or something
They
like
had
that.
the $40 entry fees. I don't know where those fees go to. So if they're going to be taking in money, it doesn't make sense to me that the district sponsors that, without getting anything back. That's not very popular opinion with the golfers, but I do think at this point for next year, I'm hoping that we can come up with a solution for them.
Well, my feeling about that is that RID pays $150,000 a year to support that golf course.
Mhm.
So yeah, they can insure their own event.
Yeah.
But it was handled this year by Cove Connect?
No,
No.
this year the district didn't.
Oh, I
and
see. I
there's
thought you
And
mentioned
I
Cove.
talked to Todd, and we're gonna sponsor it from now on. So that's
Okay, so
It's
that
yes.
would be.
So it'll be
okay,
a-
good.
That's why I had that in my mind. I'm like, I thought this
No,
was resolved. Okay.
Yeah,
Future.
but this year
so this
I
year
see.
it wasn't.
The
but going
communication wasn't
forward,
there.
We'll sponsor and get the ABC and all of that.
I guess, the Irish games are coming up then.
Yep, and we sponsor the Irish games every year. Cove Connect does. Well, as of
Okay.
last year, because the same thing came up. I said we would just do it.
Okay, so you guys will be doing the
Yeah.
ABC license
Uh-huh,
this year
and the
and the
insurance.
insurance.
Yep,
But
like
we'll
we did
still
last
waive
year.
the fee. Okay.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just, doing all the events that we do, and I am 100% against charging the nonprofits to rent out the community center. I think we can do things in kind, like in kind volunteer work, because especially, I mean, my nonprofit, we just don't have it, and how I look at it, $50, right? A day, let's say, which is what the wave was. What's $300 a year for RID, right? But what does that do to Cove Connect? Actually, a lot. That's like 2 events of alcohol that we usually don't even
Yeah.
get back,
We don't make a lot of money in return, yeah.
We don't make a lot of money because the only thing we make money off of is the bar. Everything else we give to a benefit. So, our funds are constantly dwindling and we lose money, especially this year, the Covetober, we had to buy a whole bunch of games to do a carnival. The Veterans Dinner didn't make as much as it usually does. We had a lot of losses, and we lost a lot of stuff because of the storage getting moldy and vermin and things like that we had to throw out. So it's important that we can keep as much as we can to keep this going for our community. So we're happy, like I said, we're happy to weed the front garden, so Linda doesn't have to do it, and we can do that. And we're happy to spackle and paint the walls and stuff when the south wall is fixed, because it doesn't really make much sense now. But when it does make sense, we're happy to do things like that and in-kind volunteer work, but we just can't afford to pay.
And so that gets back to the policy that the board has been looking at. And maybe not this year, but I would like to see the next time it comes up that we include in that policy an in-kind dollar amount for volunteer work, so it's clear what the in-kind work is valued at.
So yes, there's a policy for how many hours or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And what would the fee be if there was a fee?
Currently it's $50 for nonprofits.
So, and if there's 6 of us showing up to do an event and pre-cleaning, setup, tear down, post-cleaning, that in-kind's met real quickly.
Well, that's
don't
more,
consider that
that's
in-kind.
not, because that's your event.
Even the cleaning?
Not really, because that's in the policy already, is
I
that
see.
you're responsible.
So it'd
for
be
your-
additional work, like Laura was saying, with
Yeah.
like painting or
Or doing some,
some
exactly.
structural something.
Yeah.
Yep.
I see.
So
But still would be-
volunteer to volunteer, then that's what we'll have to do.
But-
Volunteer to volunteer, yes.
And there is also, maybe even like, if volunteers wanted to help clean that downstairs, like they can have done, that could be something, But for this year, I'm in agreement with staff, that we should just keep status quo.
How often is there a paid person there to clean?
Just about 4 hours a week.
Okay.
And I've had a lot of experience cleaning the clubhouse in the past with the 7.5 years that I worked for the district, and then also has been in the Pioneers for a long time. And 4 hours is not enough to do any type of real deep cleaning.
Right.
So
That's why I asked the question,
Yeah.
because it's a once over ability, is you're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
And I know we discussed this already, but with the sprinkler system dripping and some other leakage issues, sometimes there's a lot of moisture to clean up, or there's puddles on the floor, or even post cleaning, you'll come in there, sometimes you can tell it was there and clean, but puddles tramped through and whatnot, so.
I think it would be a good idea to, when we get to the budget, is have it in the budget that we can do at least. I think Jessica, I don't know if it was you that had said, a quarterly, I think a quarterly deep cleaning where we bring somebody from the outside in, like a cleaning agency just comes in and does the whole place.
That would go a long ways toward
It really
maintenance.
would, it really would. And did you have?
I would add that real quick, but that was what I was gonna add. I would say that would really help with all that throwing in the windows, especially if we do that quarterly deep clean. But I just wanted to add a comment that Scarpa brought forth about the fee exemption calendar. They had mentioned that if they had known that there would be fees in the future. Now Scarpa's a different organization, they run differently than Coconut, but they're all actually pursuing grants for different art things. And so they said that they could incorporate that into their future grant budgets when they try to write them. So I think that if that's a possibility, it should be encouraged, potentially. And we could still consider certain things on a case by case basis if they're like this recent grant they had, if they have written into their renting facilities to do that, then that's great. But if they can't, then that's fine too. So I think maybe some sort of wording to encourage, when at all possible, if you're writing grants, to consider the possibility of adding in,
I like that.
adding in the renting. I mean, I don't know, but
What do-
it's an idea.
What do you think about that?
I mean, again, SCARF is very different from us. So for them, it makes sense. For us, it's like, we're raising money for our fire department and our certified emergency response team and things like that. So it's a little bit different. We're not writing in
But it
things
has,
for grants,
yeah, but it
So,
has a representative, I mean, because you're not just, you're representing just
Right,
Connect.
right.
So if we were to make a recommendation of incorporating, like if there's any grants used in these events, then,
what if we just,
because I agree that if
what
they,
if we have people apply to use the community center space for free, depending on the event, right? Because ours are benefits, right? Where it's benefiting a school or it's benefiting something where we're not receiving that much money. Or like Scarf's thing is what they're doing is they're getting this big grant and doing art classes and things like that, where they could put it into the grant and it's more reasonable for them to pay $50 than it is for somebody like Cove Connect.
yeah.
I don't know,
I
maybe
definitely
like a-
understand that, but
right?
I also understand that they're providing these free classes
Oh,
to the
absolutely.
community.
That's why I'm just for just not,
Well, and that's kind of
having
what the fee
any fee.
exemption, yeah.
right? Like, I don't think there should be any fees. So it's hard for me to like give a solution because I don't think there should be. So I
It
don't know.
just seems like kind of a funny way to come at it. So if they understand needing more money to keep the place well maintained, that's obvious to all of us, right? So, but asking nonprofits who utilize the space, who are completely volunteer, it's a lot. It's, and like even with their grant that they got, it's all pre-allocated and gone. It's not, you can't wedge anything else in there that's
Right.
budgeted for. So is there another way to come at it? Is there another way to look for funds for building maintenance that doesn't?
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't suggesting that Connect pay. I was suggesting that we're pursuing grants. Trying to write through the
Oh,
Okay.
okay. That's what I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
at too.
Encouraging
Yeah.
people who are going for grants.
Oh, I see.
I worked with several nonprofits over the years, and we never were granted a facility for free. We always had to pay. We were given a discounted rate, but we always paid.
That's what I'm saying, it's a grant thing. So. But yeah, moving forward, if they did something like this and wrote it into their grant budget, then it would be different. But
So what would that wording be for that recommendation?
I think that would possibly go to consider for policy, or if it's something like, I don't know. I guess that's not really a strategic plan thing unless the strategic plan is to evaluate the policy and include it. That kind of thing. I don't know. I guess I wanted to, I don't know what's been done in the past. I didn't get a lot of guidance moving into this position, but I think that in just an annual letter with a reminder to nonprofits of the policy, and when we're requesting the exemption stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where it would be the proper way to do
I mean, I think maybe an easy solution would be is Cove Connect can do a fundraiser for cleaning quarterly every year, or just to help with cleaning funds. I mean, that's something we could do. But I just think it's going to get kind of sticky.
Yeah,
that certain nonprofits get it and others don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to cause a whole bunch of unnecessary uproar.
And it puts everything on Cove Connect, and you guys are already doing more than enough.
Yeah. Well, we cut down our events almost in half this year, so
Yeah.
we're not doing one every month anymore.
I support the idea that we shouldn't be picking and choosing amongst different nonprofits.
Right.
Okay. Well, then then the recommendation is just move forward.
Just to leave it
As
as
is.
it is. Yeah.
Um,
Somebody wanna,
I make a motion that we leave the policy rental agreements as is and approve this year's fee exceptions as presented.
Oh, yeah, we didn't have public comment.
oh, public comment. Okay.
Or you can make a cricket sound.
Do I need to repeat that? Just making the recommendation that we leave the rental agreement policy as is and go ahead and approve the fee exemptions that have been presented as is.
Yes, next second.
Okay, roll call.
Leilani Powell,
Aye.
Steve Rajan, absent Bruce Christie,
Aye.
Jessica Shane,
Aye.
Denise Reed, absent, Pauline York, absent, Laura Ball.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, so subcommittee reports. Let me do these really quick. Okay, so we're gonna start with trails, beach access, and park.
Do you want me to do this one?
Up to you. I don't
You
have
have
very
some
much.
other, did you have other ones?
This is it. Just these couple pages. It doesn't matter to me. Do it if you want
Okay,
to.
I'll go ahead and do this.
Okay, take it away.
And then that way we can do the other ones.
Sounds good.
Okay, so for the Trails and Parks Subcommittee, we met and what we're wanting, we'll be including into the strategic plan, and we'll bring it before the committee to go over once we dial it down. The subcommittee is developing a grand trail master plan aimed at promoting ecotourism and safe outdoor recreation. The plan will include hiking trails, biking trails, dog-friendly walking trails. Educational components will be integrated to include fire department safety tips, wildlife awareness guidance for visitors and newcomers, and identification of landmarks and scenic sightseeing points. And then also we will be looking at mapping and future development, research development for creeks and stream maps to be reviewed before the next meeting. The subcommittee will be meeting with the fire department, probably Nick, prior to the meeting to develop a clear plan of action as far as being able to join trails with fire breaks, and then also being able to identify the waterways. Additional research and development will be conducted on regional trail map systems, including site area visits to areas such as Avenue of the Giants and Blue Lake to identify best practices. We are also going to be including beach access and coastal coastal commission coordination with safe beach access improvements are a priority, specifically at these locations: Little Black Sands, Coral Point, and Coral Point. The subcommittee supports petitioning for steps to be reinstalled or improved access at the lighthouse with BLM, coordination with the Coastal Commission and Waulaki Tribe regarding the access with Coral Point. We are also looking at parkettes and naming and wanting to get community engagement with the naming of the little parks and trails. Parkettes will be identified and formally named and incorporated into the master trail map. The subcommittee by the next meeting will present a whale watching park designation, recommended names, a resource list for educational signage. Subcommittees will recommend that the RID conducts a community poll to select park names, provide a map showing park locations to encourage public engagement, and a similar naming engagement process will be proposed for creeks and streams. Also, trail and in regards to trail and recreation priorities, we want to prioritize a walking trail in the lower Cove. We're still mapping that out. Looping around the airport and golf course, hopefully. to improve pedestrian access and safety. And then looking at the playground, and for youth recreation, we are looking at a proposal to upgrade the children's playground to also include an additional smaller pump track in front of, right over here, kind of adjacent to the, either right here or down below of the children's park here.
Okay, like on the slope down there
Either
or?
there or right here where that
Okay.
sign is.
Yeah.
That's all
big
just,
enough for that?
I walked it with Riley, you know, and it was her idea. She thinks up here by where the sign is the best spot.
There's enough room there?
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then I also spoke with Nick about that a little bit, which he was just like, well, the fire department's here in case anything happens.
Yeah.
That's an upside.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Well, it'll still be
Rapid
insurance.
concussion rate.
Right.
These are the ideas yeah, so this is what we're looking at. And I'm also expanding the fencing, because if we do that, we'd have to have it fenced in, I believe. Beautification improvements to the existing playground area as well. Yeah, and that is it. Any questions about that? There's going to be some more technical work that we'll be doing when creating the maps, and we'll have that for the whole committee at the next meeting, so you guys can see exactly where what trails we're prioritizing.
I look forward to that, yeah.
Do we have a map drawer on staff here? We have someone who's good at that or has knowledge base around?
We do have our Greenbelt maps currently, and I'm thinking that we'll be able to use those on some level. I'm not able to do that at the moment, but we also talked about bringing in a consultant to come help us map everything out too. So
Gather the data and then.
yeah. Which will take money, but we'll figure that out when that time comes.
All right, so golf course area recreation. I'm assuming you guys didn't get to meet Bruce?
No.
Okay. All right, so then I'll go to 4th of July. Okay, so event programming and community activities. SCARF will host the 250th anniversary of the United States celebration, including games, foods, and family-friendly activities. A portion of the SCARF budget has been allocated to support this event. Fire safety and emergency preparedness. The fire department may produce a short promotional reel, which we thought would be fun, addressing fireworks safety, what to do in the 4th of July emergency. The tone can be informative, cheeky, and engaging to maximize community reach. Distribute a fire safety flyer with tips and emergency information included and refilling.
Can we have a furry mascot?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you volunteering?
I think you're volunteering.
You'd make a good furry mascot.
Signage regulations and visibility. Increase visibility of fire regulations through temporary signage at big black stands, little black stands, clubhouse, lighthouse, other high traffic gathering areas. Coordinate with local businesses to assist with signage placement and visibility. Community partnerships and sponsorships. Cove Connect may sponsor sparklers through community donations, tentatively titled Sponsor a Spark. Sparklers would be distributed around Cove Beach during the fireworks. Explore additional Cove Beach signage, potentially in coordination with Mario's. And that leads me to logistics and site considerations. Evaluate the need for temporary parking restrictions at the boat ramp, particularly if construction or maintenance work is occurring during the holiday period. Luke got hit by shrapnel last year when he parked his truck down at Cove Beach, and it sliced his arm open. So so I'm just thinking maybe, and I know it's going to be pretty much the same tide as it was last year, so it's going to be kind of hard to park down there. But we might just want like a sign saying beware, or it might be shrapnel or hot sharp objects coming your way. So that might be something we might want to coordinate with Amy and Ray or Heather, the owners, and try to see if we could just put a sign out there where you're parking type of thing. And then that is it for 4th of July. And then we didn't meet on community center because we didn't have that action item done. We weren't sure what to do with that. So we didn't meet on that one. So that leads to fundraising and grants. So our report's pretty simple. The grants and fundraising committee is requesting that each Parks and Recreation subcommittee provide a list of anticipated funding needed by the next scheduled meeting. These requests should include the specific project or event and an estimated funding amount and the intended use of funds. This information will allow the subcommittee to research and identify applicable grant opportunities and fundraising options in advance of the next planning phase. So like Bruce, if you need something for the golf course and, you're like, hey, this is how much we think we're going to need, then Leilani and Cindy and I can try to research grants or fundraising, try to find that for you to put into our strategic plan. My goal is to get the strategic plan done. Like I want to get it done. So we're done with our subcommittees and then we can just meet as a committee once a month and just kind of keep helping the board out with whatever they need in terms of recommendations.
Okay, I need to spend a little time with Chris to get up to speed on the golf course because I'm not a golfer. I don't know anything about it.
Right.
I've had some input already about certain things that need to be fixed, and so I just figured to go over with Chris exactly what needs to be fixed, if anything, and what the priority should be and stuff like that.
Perfect.
And then if I could also make the recommendation, Bruce, that when you meet with Chris, maybe also reach out to Denise and Pauline so that you guys are all hearing the same thing.
Right.
And then also we discuss, or one idea is to put a poll, and you guys can talk about this amongst yourselves, but get a poll out there to see about how much interest is in creating a multi-course. We have some issues with that hole one, that it goes when I'm not a golfer either, but from it's how it's been explained, even in this committee in the past, that when you're at hole one, you're hitting the ball over private property. And so it will land on district property, but you're hitting it over private property.
Letting airspace.
And sometime that private property may be purchased and developed. And so that has been in discussions about moving hole one for quite a while. The golfers aren't like super excited about that, but it might behoove us to bring somebody from the outside to look at the golf course and see how we can upgrade it and also maybe address that particular issue. If we were to move hole one, then it actually would free up that whole area.
That area before the bend, kind of, yeah.
It free up that whole area for additional recreational use, and then it would also mean that property in that area could be used by other people besides just golfers. So if you could just keep that in your notes,
right.
Of maybe looking at what it might take to bring somebody in to
So
evaluate.
we would knock 20 yards off of that hole or something.
Something like that, and but we definitely need to bring in somebody that can look at it unbiasedly and see what would maybe reconfiguring it if we need, is necessary, or just getting some other professional ideas.
I did a little independent research on this. My brother-in-law is a golf pro, and for decades, and run golf schools and stuff like that. And he's been out here and played on these links. And he says it's very clear that those links are never going to be something which is a golf attraction. Okay, we're not going to bring people in that coming to Shelter Cove just to play golf. And so just kind of forget about that. So what it means is those links are meant to serve the people who live here and play on them regularly. Okay, and so that's our clientele here, and also should govern our budget and our approach for use of our ID staff and everything.
Yeah, and I understand that. However, it is being used as promotionals for people for ecotourism and for tourists, and so. And it's my understanding too that it was labeled as golf links because that is the most cheapest way to provide golf out here, right? And exactly, we don't have it in our budget or even that many people playing to be able to do like a world-class golf course, which some people would like to see out here, but we really don't have the budget for that.
I don't know that we have the space for that.
Or the space for it. But I mean, as far as they would like to see the whole thing green, but we don't really have the water for that either, and especially since we aren't able to use recycled water currently. But that is something that I think in-house that we're working on too, because we really do want to be able to use recycled water on the golf course. Right now we're not. But regardless, looking at those golf links and seeing what could be done with hole one and how could we maybe reconfigure it to where then that would open up that whole section of land for other recreational, whether that's for picnicking, whether it's for little,
Whatever. Yeah.
yeah, people want to bring little soccer nets for their kids to run back and forth and kick a ball, stuff like that. But just opening it up for more public use than just for golfers.
And is there frisbee golf use as well? There's tournaments and such, I think I've seen.
That's on a private property,
Oh,
Yeah.
and I'm not even sure how that's all done. I
see.
do.
Mike Davidson put that
Yeah.
together, and it is on partly on his property and a neighbor's property as well.
Yeah. Now, I do think it would be in our, and since this is included in that, it would be in our interest to look at what it would take to do a multi-course.
Yeah.
I have talked to golfers, and the overwhelmingly that I get from golfers is no. However, they are doing this in other areas where they're putting multi-courses in and.
By that you mean disc golf and golf on the
Yeah.
same?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
And so that could be a starting point. I know we discussed it, and there are people that and you.
I'm very against it.
Yes, you're against it.
I'm very against it. It's $4,000 just a basket, by the way.
But
For
people
a
could.
chain, for the
When we
little
took-
chain baskets, for the disc golf in. Very expensive. Number two, the best disc golf I've ever had was in the woods, and we have all this woods and green space. If we're gonna do a course, I'd rather do it in the woods. It's way more fun that way. And thirdly, it's very loud every time it hits the basket, and you have golfers trying to concentrate. I don't think that's gonna work out too well.
They might not mix well.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I do think that there's definitely some research that could be done because they are doing it in other places. Like in Sacramento, there's some pretty large areas on a golf course with that. So just looking at the options and seeing.
And you're right though, we do have plenty of woods.
We do have plenty
It
of
could
woods.
be
Let's do it.
alternative
Let's just
places.
do it somewhere else. That's my pitch.
I was also thinking about the woods as for the pump track too.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think where we start getting into areas, in particular with the pump track, is more like CEQA, like environmental
Impact.
impact issues that we'd have to really, and those are pretty expensive too, but making sure that we were all up to code with CEQA. And then also, I understand like putting them out where we don't have other things happening, but I also, with things like a pump track and even disc golf, we kind of want eyes on things too. If we put them out in the middle of nowhere and there's nowhere and people aren't really paying attention to them on how they're being used, or as far as, people not sabotaging, what am I thinking?
Vandalize.
Thank you. Vandalizing or anything like that, like we may not be able to we may not catch it in time, that kind of thing, if it's not where people are paying attention. Whereas down here in the fishbowl area, there's more eyes, so to speak. And so that's just something to consider. I have no attachment to either of it because I don't really do any of that. I just want to make sure that we explore our options. And if it's not a great fit, fine. But I would like the golf subcommittee and the sports court subcommittee to at least explore those, and come back to us with some, like, what they found. And if it's not a good idea, then it's not a good idea. That's what I would like.
Maybe some different options
And
of
some
where they
different-
could go. Yeah.
And
we also have the site that was going to be the alternate for the sports court that I'd love to see something there.
That's a nice piece of land,
It's
yeah.
a nice piece of land. It's really pretty. They got it kind of closed off. They've got the trail to the labyrinth. I think it's a pretty cool spot. We could do something with. I like the idea of the pump track being here because the fire department's here for kids. I just think that's smart, and it's next to the playground. I think that's good planning. But that other space could definitely be used
might
for
be able to-
something.
So pump track demographic skews young?
I think it's going to be, from what Riley told me, it's going to be a little bit of everybody.
Okay.
Because some young kids like to skateboard, or they roller skate, or do whatever, but you can do anything on that track, which is what's fun about it. And I feel like, different age groups, you might have some kids that are older or younger, but they can all come here at the same time and play, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
any feedback from staff on that?
I don't have.
I think one of the challenges that the district has run into with some of the recreational aspirations that the community would like kids have been asking forever for a place to skate. You know,
Yeah.
like a skate park. I think there's been hesitancy on the board part. I'm not speaking for the whole board or past boards, but from my experience, it seems to be it is a big liability. However, you know, it might,
Communities are doing it.
we're doing it.
Yeah.
Communities are doing it, just like a dog park, just like that kind of thing.
I did reach out to insurance and pass that on track, and they said that, they have quite a few tracks on their thing, and they really haven't had any large claims. The key is proper signage. If you have proper signage there, then everything's liability.
Okay. So the wear the helmet and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe like,
And they want to review the signage.
Right.
Oh, sure, I bet they do. Yeah.
and probably like hours of operation. Use
Oh,
as
yeah.
a thing,
Sure.
like, because if we don't have
Yeah,
lights
exclude
and
nighttime
stuff like
and stuff,
that, then
yeah.
it's like, and you don't, yeah, and for sound and stuff like that.
And probably things like, when the weather is an issue, you don't open it or whatever.
Mhm.
you know.
Right. Right. Okay, cool. And then the last one was arts and ecotourism, and we don't have that subcommittee here. So that leads us to, is there any public comment on the subcommittee report? No? All right, so we're gonna go to unfinished business. Any unfinished business?
I did have one thing,
Yeah.
on that. The last, Parks and Rec committee meeting, there was an action item to, recommend to the RAD board, budget subcommittee. I wanted to get a little bit more detail on that before I bring it, I plan on bringing it to the board in February, but what does that entail? Like how many people on the committee? Like, what is the timeline of it, like the
So far,
duration?
we have, it's Tasha and Bruce and myself
Okay.
on that, so it would be the group of three, like the other subcommittees. And it would essentially be reviewing the existing, how I understand it, it's reviewing the existing budget and then making recommendations on how to improve it or what needs more funds, like the community center.
Mhm.
Reviewing the Parks and Rec.
Correct,
Budget.
just the Parks and Rec budget, nothing else. And just making our recommendations on how those could be improved upon.
Okay, I will bring that to the board.
And then we'll be, and then that, whatever, it'll be nice because, the information that we gather as a subcommittee, whatever, then we give that to the budget, the district budget committee that will be forming. And that's, I think is really gonna be helpful for the budget committee of the district, of the RID board.
Okay, cool. Anything else? Before we sign off? Okay, meeting is adjourned at 11:13.
Okay.